Okay. Hi, Roger. How are you?
Hey Douglas, how are you?
Doing fine. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. Nice to have you on. You've got a book out that we're going to be promoting today called My First Last Year. It sounds like a very interesting book. It's an interesting title. We'll get to that in a second. I want to do a little bit of your backstory. You are a PhD. What is your area of expertise?
My PhD is in education. I was a lifelong educator. I knew from the time I was a teenager that I wanted to be a writer, and so that led me toward English education. So I was an English teacher and professor and a librarian.
Okay, were you teaching at university level?
Yes, for a brief time, I did teach at the university level, but most of my years in education were at the high school level.
Okay, and you were teaching English, yeah?
Yes, English and literature, and then I became a librarian.
You're also a keynote speaker, and what sort of things do you speak about? Do you do TED talks? Are you on those
I
kind of
do.
tours? Yeah. Well, okay.
Yes, and what I'm most famous for with my keynotes is some of the books that I write are movie reference books. And so I present keynotes connecting any organization or any interest with award winning actors and movies.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. So there was a group that asked me to come speak at them called the Fork and Knife Club, and they were a social group that got together regularly and had great dining experiences. So I talked about food in the movies and talked about some award-winning movies that had famous food scenes.
I can't think of one right off the top of my head.
One of my favorites is Babette's Feast, which was a foreign film, a Danish film that came out in 1987. It was based on an Isak Dinesen short story. Fabulous movie. It won Best Foreign Film in '87.
Okay, I have heard that the title. I've never seen it. Actually, while you were saying that, the one that came to mind was Home for Thanksgiving.
Nice, very good,
There was
very
a
good.
lot of
Another great one is Big Night with Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub. Wonderful film.
these are more obscure films than I've seen before. But okay.
Some of the keynotes that I do are on more mainstream films. For example, not long ago, I did a presentation to the petroleum group, and I talked about oil in the movies. So I got to talk about movies like Giant and There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, Goodfellas had a couple of scenes with all the Italian gangster movies always have pasta and sausage scenes. Every single one of them. Yeah. And the Godfather had that whole scene with the wedding and everybody eating, and yeah, I think it's just all part of the culture.
Such a great film.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you've written. It looks like you've written a lot of different books uh, in different genres. How many books do you have published at this point?
I have 15 out right now, and I have four more on the way that will be published within the next year or year and a half.
So you've been writing for quite some time then.
Yes, it's been a lifelong dream of mine to be an author.
Did you start writing before people were able to self-publish?
Yes, I started writing when I was a teenager, and I went the traditional publishing route for, I would say, 2 or 3 decades. And then things started branching out, and I started meeting some publishers who ran small presses and medium-sized presses. And then eventually, I was inspired to open my own publishing house, and I published not only my own books but also other authors as well.
Oh, okay. So you have your own publishing at this point. Okay, great. How many authors do you have?
We're working with our third new author. So the addition of other authors has been relatively recent, and things were delayed a little bit because how things changed during COVID. But I'm currently working with my third new author for a book that's coming out later this year.
Are you a full service or are you a hybrid or what kind of company do you have?
Mine's a hybrid.
Okay, so do you kind of offer a la carte or whatever they need or whatever they want type thing?
Yes, I guide them through the process and then help them launch the book. But then their profits, their royalties go directly to them. I'd had enough experiences with traditional publishing to realize that even if books do really well, the author very often doesn't get much profit out of it. So I wanted to make it so that new authors who really had a passion for what they were doing and who had a wonderful message to share could immediately start getting royalties from their works as soon as the launch was completed.
Well, I know authors that are traditionally published with one of the big five publishing houses, and their cut is pretty low compared to what the publisher was taking 80% or something like that.
Even usually even more than that.
Even more than
And
that.
there are so many nuances that it's hard to appreciate. For example, one of my books, Success Express for Teens, which came out many years ago, was doing very, very well. There was an entire school district who bought a copy of the book for every single student in their entire district, which was a few thousand books. Once they cut the deal, though, and had to work through the school district and everything, I, as the author, almost saw no profit at all from that huge sale. Fortunately, they brought me out to introduce the concepts, and I got to spend a week there at the schools teaching the students and doing a big seminar. So I was paid for the speaking engagement, but I was really surprised when that royalty statement came through and there was almost nothing there for me, despite how many books they sold.
Do the traditional publishing houses still write advance checks to authors they sign?
I think if you're very established, they do, but it's my understanding that that's becoming less and less frequent.
So if you're lucky enough and they actually sign you, you may get nothing up front and they'll just push your book or promote it.
Yes, but it's important to know also, if you're looking for traditional publishing, that even if you do get an advance, that money is then taken out of your royalties until you meet the sales that are required to pay you that much. So it's not like you just get a check up front and then the royalties start rolling in after that. Your royalties as an author don't start until after the book has earned enough money to have earned you that advance.
Oh, right, right. That's the same with music. And I think it's important to bring that up because a lot of people are under the misapprehension that that's a gift, and it's not a gift. It's just advanced earnings. Yeah, and I've actually interviewed a couple of musicians who got signed to Sony Music and got a nice big advance check, and after their sales didn't make it, they ended up being sued by Sony to get the money back that they were advanced. And it was a whole big mess. I mean, we were talking like $100,000. It was a lot of money. So
yeah, similar circumstances happen in the publishing world as well.
yeah, I bet. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about your latest book, My First Last Year. It says this is a memoir.
Yes.
Okay, give us a little synopsis of the book. What can the reader expect to find?
So I had a dream where I was told to live the next year of my life as if I would never experience those calendar dates again. I mean, the dream, it scared me a little bit because I thought, does that mean I'm going to die? But then the dream continued and it said, don't prepare to die, but live, really live, so that when you get to the end of your life, you know you've done everything that you wanted to do and you can know that you have ended your life with no regrets. The dream continued. I was further told to write about that experience as I live it and then publish it as my next book. Well, that was easy to do because I love to write, and any new book idea is exactly what I want to receive. Then the dream ended by saying, after you write the book, teach others how to live the life they dream as well. And that's the journey I'm on now.
There is an old expression that says, live each day as if it were your last, and also live each day as if you're going to live forever. And there's a balance to that. Is that kind of what you're doing in the book?
Yes, absolutely. So the inspiration for the book taught me that I needed to start living that moment. I'd had the dream in November, and the librarian left brain side of me thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting if I just waited till the new year? It's just about 6 weeks away. Why don't I wait till the new year and start this? But as I share in my TED Talk, that one of the most empowering inspirations is to take inspiration to action And so I woke up that morning after having the dream, and I knew I needed to start living it that moment. And as I did, my perspective on life changed. And I started living, waking up every morning thinking, this could be it. If this is the last, whatever date it is, that I'm ever going to live, I need to not only live it as my best, but I need to live it as if everything needs to come together right now. So part of that process, and what I teach my flyers, I call them, the people who take my courses, I teach them that you need to stay present and take risks, because there are no more excuses. We can't just say, well, I'll do it someday. Or we can't think, well, I'm not strong enough or tall enough or handsome enough or rich enough or whatever enough to be able to pursue this. If something is calling to your heart, you must act on it now and see what adventure your life has in store.
What was something that you weren't doing before the dream that you started doing after it?
I've always been very goal oriented. In fact, when I was a classroom teacher, I taught goal setting, and one of the main themes throughout the book, Success Express for Teens, is to teach teenagers how to set goals. So I was always very forward thinking, somewhat what you said in the quotation about living, live as you're going to act as if you're going to live forever. This shifted to make me think, although I continue to be goal oriented and I wanted to pursue big dreams, the joy of life is in the journey itself. Do not delay happiness. Do not delay contentment. Do not delay peace and resolve, thinking, well, once I do this, then I can have happiness. Or once I create this, then I will have peace of mind. The objective in life is to create that now while you're pursuing your goals.
Okay, well, that's an interesting idea. So rather than say, I'm going to be happy once I get that new house, be happy through the whole process of trying to find the money to buy the new house.
Yes, that's part of the adventure.
Okay.
Because it's great to have a destination. It's essential to have a destination. So say, if we use the analogy of climbing a mountain, it's great to have your sights on the mountaintop, but the journey is the step you take right now. Where you are right now is where life exists. And if you can make the step right now where your joy is, then the whole journey will be fabulous. It's not just a matter of, well, I'll struggle through this part and then I'll be happy at this next level or when I get to my destination. It's like, this is all I have. Today is it. I'm going to choose to make this day the best that I can make it, and love it and enjoy it and feel impassioned and empowered by where I'm going as I move through this day.
It really is a change of mindset, isn't it? Even though you don't like particular aspects of the journey, it's really about setting your mind to, well, okay, this is part of it. I'm going to be happy with this because I have to do this.
Yes. And keep in mind that where you are right now is the answer to a dream you had earlier in your life. You set things in motion early in your life to be able to get where you are now. So if you're not happy with where you are now, it might behoove you or anyone to look at how you created that. You got to co-create this experience right now. So even if you're not where your final destination would end up being, where you love it most, you are exactly where your past experiences, decisions, and thoughts placed you. That's empowering to me. Every time I realize that, it's like, if I'm ever unhappy with anything, it's just like, well, I chose this. I made decisions that put me here. If I'm not happy now, let me change my perspective or change the decisions so that I can change the action or change the belief.
I agree with you. And I think, blaming other people is the worst thing you can do. When you say, oh, well, I wouldn't be in this predicament if, no, that I don't buy that. I don't think that works. You're absolutely right. Everybody is responsible for their own situation and their own place wherever they are. I agree. Roger, we do have to wind this down. We are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Yes, it's my name, just rogerleslie.com.
Okay, and there's information on your book and books and your
Yes,
talks and everything there. Yeah.
it's all there. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for coming on the show. It was nice meeting you, and best of luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you. This was a pleasure. I really appreciate it.